prices to the moon. The beers them waiting for the crash coming real soon. But the OG consultant watching, he's seen it all before. Over 40 years in the game, he knows the real score. Bull versus bear, a real estate fight. He doesn't tell you who's wrong and who is right. In the Miami Condo investing club with no guess. He cuts through the noise and all of the mess. The Peter Zalewski Show. Big respect, OG in the game. Listen and learn the man's name. And up down. Peter Zalewski Show.
Happy Wednesday, Miami. This is the Peter Zalewski Show, a conversation, a one-on-one conversation I have with somebody I think you need to know. Doesn't matter if you're born and raised here, you've been living here, or you're thinking about coming down here. Every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I go live and I introduce you to somebody who needs to be on your radar. This week, though, got a little bit of a surprise for you. We're going to be taking a look at, we're going to drill down into the data that shows 67,000 fewer people living in the Tri-County, South Florida area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. Coming from the U.S. Census Bureau, this podcast is based on a story that came out in the Wall Street Journal. We're going to get all the details. We're going to tell you what it means for you. If you own a condo, you're thinking about buying a condo, you're dealing with all the cash trap situations related to the Surfside condo collapse, the high cost of condo living, and now suddenly fewer people are living in the Tri-County area according to the federal government. We're going to get into all of that. We're also going to talk about, do the trees really grow to the moon? I thought 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. I thought we were the gateway to Latin America. I thought we were the hottest place. We got Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook here. We got Larry Page of Google. Jeff Bezos, he came on down. Everybody's here. We're the hottest place around, but somehow 67,000 fewer people. Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. What does that mean specifically? Miami-Dade County lost 36,000 residents. What Broward County lose? Broward County lost 24,000 residents. In Palm Beach County, Wall Street South, all the marketing that's going on, well, they lost 6,300 people or so. When you put it all together, you come up just under 67,000 people out of a population, the Tri-County region of 6.4 million people. So what does that mean? That means fewer people to resell your condo to. It means fewer people ultimately working on construction sites, fewer people renting. Prices have to go up, I would assume, if there's fewer people, no? And this doesn't even factor in anything related to the immigration policy of the United States. Doesn't have anything to do with the number of passengers, foreign passenger traffic through Miami International Airport, which fell for the fourth time in more than 20 years. Actually, it contracted. We lost 1.25% on foreign passenger traffic through Miami International Airport in 2025. Yet, condo prices got to go up. Developers are going to keep building, and we got plenty of demand. That's what they're telling you. We're going to drill down on the numbers. We're going to lay it all out for you. And we're going to give you some real talk about what's going on in the marketplace. No Chamber of Commerce talk here. No sell-side real estate talk here. No. We're going to give you the straight talk so you can go in there and you make an educated decision, do whatever it is you want to do with the condo market. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club, and also an individual everybody on the sell side absolutely loves right about now as the market is teetering as we go into the summer buying season. When it's hot, it's humid, and there's hurricane warnings. That typically translates into fewer buyers in the marketplace. Why? They're in the Hamptons. They're in North Carolina. They went up to Canada. They went to Europe. They're not thinking about South Florida. This is the last thing they want to deal with. I don't have hair, as you can see. So I don't have to worry about the humidity affecting my hair, but some people, you think they're going to look their best come down here with the humidity at 100%? Not going to happen. They're going to be going elsewhere. So we are off the radar effectively in 8 days. May 1st comes, it all changes. How does it typically work down here in the South Florida area? Well, what happens between in the winter buying season, between November and April, people come here for events, they come here for vacation, they come here for a cruise. While they're here, they catch the bug. They always catch the bug. They like it. It makes, it's a lot of fun. It's got a good vibe. It's the fountain of youth. They start kicking around the idea of buying a condo. They start shopping for a condo. By the time they ultimately find a place, they negotiate, they go under contract, they get it financed, they get it funded, they pay cash. It tends to close in the summer buying season, which will go from May through October. That's just kind of the way it works. So if you were a seller and we were coming into this time, because remember, cost of living has gone up significantly recently. Why? Because of the Surfside condo collapse, that tower that collapsed on the Barrier Island, Miami-Dade County, right there in the village or town of Surfside, immediately north of Miami Beach. It went down. Nearly 100 people died. $1 billion settlement was paid out to the family of the victim. The legislation changed in the state of Florida. Now there's mandatory inspections. These mandatory inspections are leading to special assessments. Regular special assessments every 10 years, you're going to be getting a special assessment, is our opinion. When your building hits that 30-year mark, something called a milestone inspection is required. And when you get a milestone inspection, our ballpark estimate is $25,000 special assessment. If that building's up to 4 stories, if that building is between 5 and 14 stories, put $65,000 on the ledger. That's probably you're going to be on the hook for. And when that building is more than 15 stories, 100 G's. That's what it's going to cost you minimum. I talked to a guy who's in a condo. He's looking at close to $200,000 in special assessment. Real hard to make those numbers work. At the same time, maintenance fees are rising and insurance premiums are much higher today than they were before Surfside went down. They pulled back a little bit going into this year. Why? Because the last hurricane season, it wasn't as bad as some had suspected. And as a result, you had a little bit of pullback in the premiums. But that being said, it can change year after year after year. But what's not changing is it's much more expensive to live in a condo. And if you live in one of these condos, the other issue you got to deal with is the repairs that are necessary. Because of the legislation, licensed architects, licensed engineers, they go in, they take a look at everything, they give you an idea what the shelf life is on all the critical components. They then turn it over their numbers people who came up with a dollar amount. They then turn it over to the association. Association board now has to adopt that policy, or they can shop around for a cheaper one, and a lot of them are doing it from what I hear. They, it's just like you shop around for a car mechanic. They're shopping around for maybe you'll give them a low ball ultimately on what the work is going to be required. But it doesn't really matter. You got to start funding it. You either hit up your unit owners with a special assessment. Typically, you give them a year to pay. Otherwise, if they don't pay, you foreclose, or the association go out and take out a loan. Private loans typically is going to have an interest rate of 9, 10, 11% at a time of affordability. All of this is leading many sellers to head for the exits or try to head for the exits. Those that were smart, they got out. The ones who haven't, they're starting to cut their price. We just came out with a report yesterday saying 6.5% average asking price has gone down. So they're dropping the asking prices by 6.5% since guess when? March 31st. Not even a month ago, they're starting to slash prices. Why? Because sellers know we're going into a summer buying season, which is probably going to be quieter than normal. Why? Because many people are going to be diverted with their attention. Where's their attention going to be? June, July, we got FIFA World Cup. Miami is hosting matches, and when those people come in here, maybe they're going to look for a condo, maybe they won't. Chances are they're going to be throwing them back. They're going to be dancing. They're going to be watching football and going out and look for a condo. I'm not sure if it's going to make sense, especially given the cost of hotels, given the cost of restaurants. You go to a restaurant right now in Coconut Grove, you're looking at $20 for a burger, another $5 for the fries, kick in tax tip. You can't get out for less than $35, and that's with no booze, no alcohol. Not that anybody in Generation Z is drinking anymore. I'm not even sure if they can drink, but there's this movement against alcohol. But basically, things are expensive. People who are coming here for the World Cup, they may or may not pursue condos. A lot of people on the south side will tell you, yeah, they're going to, their developers are going to cash in this summer. Everybody's coming to town. I would take the opposite end of that trade simply because football fanatics and sports fanatics, when they're in the zone, they don't really care too much about other things. So June, July, we got FIFA. What do you got in August? You got the typical vacation time. Everybody goes on vacation with their kids. They know the kids are going back to school at the end of August. Therefore, August is dead. The humidity's really getting ratcheted up, and a lot of people sort of put everything on the, they put it on the sidelines. September, you come back after Labor Day holiday here in the United States. You come back, and you know what you're going to get greeted with? The contentious midterm election that begins in November. The campaigning is going to get ratcheted up. There's a big battle going on in Washington about what direction this country is going into. And who would buy a condo? Who would buy real estate? Who would open up a business? Who would expand a business if you don't know if things could change in the beginning of November? So looking at it realistically, this might be a lost summer for sellers. And if you're a buyer, this is the time to lowball, and your ability to lowball, it just got better. Why? Wall Street Journal just came out with a story about how the population of Florida is going down. Remember everything that occurred back in 2020? Remember when we had the pandemic hit? Remember when the real estate market fell? And then you remember when blue states, i.e. Democratic states, they put in place mandates requiring you to wear a mask. You didn't wear a mask, you couldn't go outside, you could get fined, all kinds of things could happen. And you know what not president, he wanted to be president, but Governor Ron DeSantis did? He said, you don't need to wear a mask. Come on down. No mask required. All the companies said, oh, listen, work from home. We don't know what's going to go on. Work from home 5 days a week, not a problem. So what do people do? They picked up, a lot of them moved to Florida. They came from Silicon Valley. They came from Wall Street. They all came into Florida. No state income tax. The real estate, so they said, was so much cheaper. They came down here. They bid up prices. They would get into bidding wars. They were overpaying. And if they were the lucky winner, they got to overpay on a condo. In 2021, 2022, 2023, everybody wanted to come to town. You know who else came to town? A guy who set up a company called WeWork, a guy called Adam Newman. He came down here. All of a sudden, he went from WeWork, where he became a billionaire. Company didn't necessarily do very well, but he became a billionaire. Now he is a condo developer, or so he says. He bought 2 rental towers. He's converting them into condos, also bought a piece of dirt. Well, we just took a look at one of his projects. You know what happened? It's 6 months period of selling off units, 466 units, greater downtown Miami, right there in that central business district, that neighborhood, which is called Miami World Center. He sold off 58% of his units in 6 months. Here's the catch. 9% of the units went to people who bought the units in their own names, meaning 91% were sold to corporations. And of that, 5 bulk deals, 82 unit sales, 82 of them total, out of 269 sales overall. 466 is the overall market. They sold 58% of the building, but only 9% were sold to individuals. These are being sold to corporations. What's the challenge with a corporation? Corporation, if you buy more than less, you're probably paying a lower price. And in addition, you're not going to make a decision based simply because you live there. You're making a decision based on numbers. And if numbers don't work, you know what you do? You cut bait. And if you're in at a cheap enough price, you can always undercut everybody else in the market. That's an example of people who moved in here to town. They all got the fear of missing out, the FOMO, all of the talk that it's different this time, and the Bitcoin bros and crypto bros, and everybody came down. Let me tell you what, the market is turning. So all of you out there on the south side who were talking about, oh, this is the up and coming and Mark Zuckerberg, things starting to get a little bit different. Why? Because of the data. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the population numbers. Just another element suggesting that this market, this hoopla, all of this FOMO that was going on, it's starting to peter out. And I say that with pride, peter out. And let's see if we can peter down on these numbers and give you guys some good perspective. I'm going to pull up a little presentation I put together. It's all prompted by the Wall Street Journal story. I'm going to give you a screenshot of it. Then we're going to drill down into the data. The data is all coming from the U.S. Census Bureau, the U.S. Census Bureau data. So let's go ahead and pull up these numbers for you in this little presentation, and we'll get into it. So here we go. Screen, and boom. There we go. All right. So I am sharing my screen. This is actually something I put together on Canva. So we're going to be able to go through it, and you guys are going to be able to check it out. Let me sort out my layout. There we go. All right, so what are we looking at? This is a story that basically put it on the radar. This is coming from, let me see if I can jack this thing up a little bit. Maybe make it a little bit easier for you all. There you go. Okay. This is a story came out of the Wall Street Journal. Headline, Florida's population boom fizzles. Its high costs drive away the middle class. And that's what's happening. Anybody down here on the ground, they could see it. The affordability issue. I told you. $20 for a burger in Coconut Grove, an extra $5 for fries, throw a tax and a tip. Tip's no longer 10 or 15%. It is 18 to 25%. You put it all out there, $35 for a burger. Who's going to be doing that day in and day out? What about some of these rentals? You go into some of these rental buildings, they want $5-6 grand a month for a 1 or 2 bedroom. Who's going to pay that? None of this is realistic. This is all FOMO type of stuff. This is all the south side. But if you are patient, you sit back, things start to come to you. The market always comes to you. Never rush in, because if you rush in on a fad, it doesn't necessarily end well. And that's what the Wall Street Journal is saying. Wall Street Journal is saying, based on Florida's population, the boom and now potentially the bust. And that's what we've been warning everybody about with some of these valuations and some of these condo prices. So let's scroll down to my little presentation. And this is what we got going on in the Florida population. You guys can see here, population. We just charted this out. This is based on Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, data coming from U.S. Census Bureau. So what we have going on here basically is that the population, let me see if I can actually get the numbers, and I'll walk you guys through it. So population back in 2010 was coming in at about 5.6 million people. Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. And of that 5.6 million people, you had 2.5 in Dade County and 1.7 in Broward, and just for kicks, 1.3 in Palm Beach County. Together, they represent the Tri-County, South Florida area. So we jumped to 2020. You guys will see that here. Let me see that here. Yep, let's see if we got a number. Nope, they're not going to give me a number, so I will read it out to you. So we get to 2020, and we suddenly reach 6.1 million people. 6.1 million people is where we come in here. And at the time, you got 2.7 million in Miami-Dade, 1.9 in Broward, and 1.5 in Palm Beach County, representing growth of about 9.35%. So in a decade, we grew about 9.35%. Overall, we went from 5.6 to 6.1. And then we run into 2024, we jump up to 6.5 million people, 6.5 million people. And that's going to be right here. You guys see that'll be 6.5 million people in the Tri-County area, of which you're going to have 2.8 in Dade, 2 million in Broward, and 1.6 in Palm Beach County. 6.5 million, a growth of 5.21%. 5.21%. Why? Because everybody wanted to be here. You can work from home, and you didn't have to wear a mask. And Miami Beach said, listen, come on down, get on Ocean Drive, get on the cop car, and you can twerk, and it's going to be a grand old time. None of that's happening anymore. Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan said, get your ass back to Wall Street. We need synergy. Silicon Valley said, oh my gosh, we got AI. I need everybody back in Silicon Valley. And many of these people who rushed in, they bought condos. They thought these were going to be their forever condos. And now it's not necessarily working out the way that they had ultimately hoped. They're trying to rent it. And you know what the problem is with renting a condo when you overpay? You're not going to cover your carry. Many of these people are subsidizing renters to live in there. It's not like the renters are getting that cheap of a deal. It's just the cost of condos has gone up so tremendously because a lot of it has to do with Surfside and all of the new transparency, the insurance, the special assessment. So it's really kind of driven prices up. A lot of people who have equity built in, they're heading for the exits. They are taking a haircut on the way out simply because they want to call it a day. They don't know what's going to happen, and they don't want to hang around long enough while the work's being done. General contractor told me when they're doing restoration work, every $2 million of restoration work is 1 year of labor. People swinging hammers. If they're running behind on schedule, you're hanging out the pool on Saturday, they might be swinging hammers. You know what else goes when they're doing the construction? They bring in those little food trucks. Back in the day, we called them roach coaches. Now they're called food truck. They go in there with the horn. They pull up, all the construction workers go down there smoking a cigarette, drinking a colada, enjoying it. Then they're going back to the office. Many of them show up early before the job starts. 8 a.m. it starts. They're out there smoking a cigarette at 7 in the morning. 7:30. You guys are driving around. There's nails everywhere. Every time they do work, some reason nails just mysteriously appear, which means you're going to get a flat tire. And you know what else comes mysteriously? Pigeons. Pigeons love the dust of construction sites. So that's what you're faced with if you're going through some of these buildings that are being required to do the work. A lot of people don't necessarily want to live through that. So what do? They start to cut the price. Remember, 4 deals in a building will recalibrate pricing. Now, when they were going up, they were jacking up the prices. As they start to come down, they're going to pull down pricing. So if you were holding firm in your particular condo and you're trying to do everything you can to make a go of it, keep in mind there's something that we have coined the Florida Condo Association Financial Cliff. We came out with it in June of 2024. And what we said is, as the cost of condo living starts to increase, some people will fall out. They'll either decide not to pay or they'll stop paying. Therefore, services have to get cut, and those people who are continuing to pay, they have to make up the difference. And it gets weeded out and weeded out and weeded out. We first saw this during the Great Recession. Back then, you had buildings you would go to and you walk down the hallway and every other light bulb in the hallway was unscrewed to save electricity. They turned off the security cameras. They got rid of the valet. They even cut back on the concierge services. Why? Because the money wasn't coming in. That is what a cliff is. And that's what many people are facing right now as we're going through this process. So why do I bring that up? Because as you see population changes, you see a population change here. You see this. This doesn't look like a lot. It does not look like a lot. But that little number is 67,000 fewer people. If there's 1.5 people per condo, 1.5 people per house, what do we lose? What is that ballpark? 30, 40,000 people off the board, no longer playing the game, no longer in it. Why are these people leaving? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, they're leaving because of affordability. Affordability. They're going elsewhere. They got better bang for their buck in terms of the quality of life and living. People are leaving Florida just like they flooded in. Now they're heading out, according to the Census Bureau data.